Hello, everybody. Brad Johnson here, and welcome to the second episode of the Expansion Point. I'm looking forward to another amazing episode that we're going to share today. And this episode is all going to be about the infinite and the absolute. So, last week was our debut episode where I was talking about the power of the theta. Let me just move my microphone a little bit closer so you guys can hear me better. There we go. So again, I was talking about that last week and being able to teach a lot of you how to go into the theta state naturally, how to connect with your God mind, how to connect with your guides, everything that represented going within and checking in. And so today we're going to be talking about the infinite and the absolute, that there are differences between these two ideas, between what is infinite and between what is absolute. So again, be sure to join me every Friday here on the Akashic Academy at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, as these episodes are just going to keep getting better and better. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Hello to everybody on the chat. We will have a Q&A period, probably around the last 5 minutes or so of today's broadcast as well. So let's get right into it, moving into the infinite and the absolute. There we go. Had to fix my slides there for a second. Okay, so the infinite is all possibilities here and now. It is the realm of eternal impermanence, which means that everything that is infinite is not actually permanent. It is all cycled through a state of great change. So as we shift, as we evolve, as we transform ourselves, we are exploring possibilities. We are exploring outcomes. We are exploring results. We are exploring expressions of ourselves. But these are all aspects of ourselves that die. And what that means is that to die simply means going from one particular aspect of paradigm to another, going from one reality to another, going from one experience to another. And so when we're looking at the infinite, it is showing the holographic mirror where it continuously goes on, never ending, and it basically is just showing us what it is that our own state of being is telling us about ourselves, right? So if we feel that we're starting a job as a painter and we never liked being a painter, well then we have the opportunity to change that. Or if we feel that we're being too shy and we want to open ourselves up a lot more, we have the ability to change that. Everything pertaining to the themes existing within the infinite is an impermanent thing. Our bodies are an impermanent thing, right? So we live for a certain amount of time, our body perishes, yet we continue to live on because we are far beyond the body. We are far beyond the mind. We are far beyond the heart, and we are also far beyond the soul. The soul itself is also an impermanent thing because the soul is a construct. It is a technology. It is a combination of our mind. It is a combination of our essence, and it follows cyclic development. So when we're looking at cyclic development through the soul, it is telling us about different expressions, different hemispheres of ourselves that come together, cross-connect, interlace, and say, well, this is who I am, or this is what I've been doing, this is what I've been following, this is what I've been pursuing. But the aspect of the soul will always follow a cyclic plan. We could obviously try and feel that we're completely in alignment with free will, and free will certainly does exist, but free will is not, again, the true nature of what we would consider to be liberation. What is free will? Free will is actually something that has been created through confusion. It is choice, right? In order for you to make a choice, you have to be confused. Do I choose this or do I choose that? Do I go down road A, road B, or road C here? So confusion is necessary in order for us to make a choice. This is why that choice itself is not the prominent aspect of ourselves. It is when we are actually able to receive clarity. How do we create clarity within ourselves? By getting to know who we are, by making ourselves our world, by making ourselves the dedicated factor, right? It's putting yourself first. Now, this is not being said in a form of arrogance or cockiness or egotism in that particular way. But you're never going to experience another whole being, ever, in your life. You're never going to experience your mother as a whole being, or your father as a whole being, or your best friend as a whole being. No. Because they are all within their own respective universes, and they are only able to experience themselves as a whole being. Just as you are only able to express yourself as a whole being. Everybody else that's here are slices of yourself, right? So when you're looking at your mom, your dad, your best friend, your brother, your sister, your daughter, your son, they are all just elements of who you are, telling you about how you see yourself through the perspective that they have adopted that best tells you how you see yourself through them, right? That's the effect. With us just being the only ones here, we're the whole being. So as we are the whole being, and everybody else is a slice, a counterpart to ourselves, they are helping us to understand more about how we operate, how we work in that way. And so it encourages us to go within, and as we start to form a very strong relationship with us, which means we have the ability on this planet, in this body, to never be sick, to never be ill, to be immune to absolutely everything. Or Brad, how is that possible? Is that like some sort of magic elixir that you drink, or what's going on? No, it has nothing to do with a magic elixir. It is the idea that you are so deeply connected in the relationship with all of your bodies, your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual bodies. You talk to them on a daily basis, and you feel them very, very deeply. This is again where you are creating a commitment. You are devoting yourself to getting to know who you are. Your body will instantly tell you if something is coming in that is not feeling right, because you've developed such a relationship with your body. You're talking to your organs, you're talking to your lymphatics, you're talking to your glandular system, you're talking to your nervous system, you're talking to your blood, you're talking to everything within your physical body. You're also talking to your emotional body. You're also talking to your mental body. You're also talking to your spiritual body, until there is such a union that is here that it is impossible for you to actually ever get sick again. Because your body instantly tells you something's happening, here's what you need to do, you do it right away, gone, right? And the reason I say this is because this is what I've been doing, right? Is just being able to go within, talk to my organs. How's my liver doing today? How's my heart doing today? How's my lungs doing today? How is all of this doing today, right? And it's actually informing me. Oh, this is what I could use. This is something that you could do. Maybe you could do a meditation on this, or maybe you could take this food item, and this will really, really help the liver, etc. And that's great. So I go ahead and I start doing that. I start listening to what the body creates, what it's telling me through that state of creation. And how do we talk to our body? Well, the theta state, just as I referred to last week, puts you there. It connects you to the body. You can actually start to feel the impulse. You feel a transmission that comes through when your liver's talking to you, when your heart's talking to you, when your lungs are talking to you, etc. And they tell you exactly everything that they require so that your body is functioning at peak performance. So all of this is expression of the infinite. It's telling us everything about ourselves. And so the infinite really is the aspect of our dynamic body, or a reality body, right? So if we're looking at a reality body or a dynamic body, that flourishes through the fluidic aspect of change pertaining to the infinite, right? So the infinite is your never-ending, extensive reality body that is dynamically flowing, that is dynamically changing. It's like this liquid that's just constantly moving. It never grows stale. It's always in a state of movement, right? That represents the idea of the infinite. So the infinite in that sense is just an impermanent realm that tells us more about the aspects of how we can change ourselves until we feel we have reached truth. So in regards to this summary, the infinite is the sandbox of creation. It is the realm where the Creator God exists to express themselves through a spirit, mind, and body complex through incarnation. All possibilities, expressions, and creations are impermanent and are governed through one's change. Where all roads are never ending, The themes within those roads shall transform, resulting in impermanent structure. So again, as long as you're working with the infinite, you're working with impermanence. You are not working with a permanent thing. You are always working with change. You are always working with transformation. It's cycling you through different perspectives, different themes of exploration that relates to your life. Now moving on, what about the absolute? The absolute is the unchanging, empty void. All infinite possibility exists within the absolute, as the absolute never changes. It is the essence of truth stilled within foreverness. And so it's a very, very different story when we're working with the absolute. That is your true beingness. That is what you are. You are without thought. You are without expression. You are without ambition. You are without emotion. You are without feeling. It's just the idea of being complete and total void. It's about being completely changeless. That's the aspect of the absolute. And so the absolute never demands anything from you. It never requests anything, right? But when we're really looking into the greater depths of what truth is emptiness. It's like if I was to hold up an empty glass in front of you guys right now, that's truth, right? And that truth, that emptiness, is the beginning to where everything is formed. Right? This is why that really when you look at the ultimate or the absolute, the true nature of what we could understand as God intelligence is that it does not care about what is created in the state of corporeal or even non-corporeal matters. Wherever there's matter, wherever there's energy, who cares? Right? The whole idea is that truth comes down to the state of it being complete and total emptiness, because emptiness is where everything was created. Right? Just as if I was holding up an empty glass right now, what is the first thing that you need to do to go and get a glass of water? You need an empty glass. What's the first thing you need to do to paint a beautiful work of art? You need an empty canvas, right? You have to understand that everything emerges from emptiness, and that is how creation was formed, right? So everything that represents the aspect of materiality and expression are all expressions, are all creative aspects that we as creator gods have manifested through a state of emptiness, right? So that emptiness is to where everything has come. Everything has been produced through that state of emptiness. You cannot get something full and expect to create something even more full because you're already full. You can't fill a glass that's already filled to the brim, right? You need to empty that glass. So what is this telling us about ourselves? Is that if you truly want to expand and understand who you are, empty your glass. Empty your glass of all belief systems of what you feel you feel you are. Empty your glass of everything that you feel represents yourself that is important. Nothing really is important. That's the kind of funny thing about this. Because if we go back into truth, well, what does truth represent? It represents the emptiness, right? So when we're looking to completely refine and rebuild ourselves, we're doing that because we've seen this glass completely full, and we realize that we're going through tough times, that we're going through financial troubles, that we're not happy with a lot of the systems on this planet, that there's a lot of chaos going around the world. It's because our glass is filled with so much of these things because we're caring about them, right? We are creating a great amount of care that someone is suffering. We're creating a great amount of care that things aren't going right. We're creating a great amount of care that I have all of these belief systems and blockages within myself that are preventing me from being who I am. We care about them too much, right? And so as long as you put focus on all of these things and saying, I'm inadequate, I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy, I can't get a hold of this, there's no way that this is going to happen to me, right? You're putting so much energy in everything that does not serve. That's what your glass is doing. It's completely full with everything that you don't prefer. And when you actually empty that glass out, and now you stare at that emptiness, now I'm going to put new concepts together that's going to counterbalance all of these old states of focus that have told me that I'm inadequate. So now I'm going to start complimenting myself on a daily basis. I'm going to start appreciating myself on a daily basis. I'm going to perform simple acts of kindness upon myself. And I'm doing this because this is going to counterbalance everything within my life that has told me I'm inadequate. So as long as I feel I'm still inadequate, then I'm going to continue to be chasing my own tail with all of these things. I'm going to be chasing around the government. I'm going to be chasing around politics. I'm going to be chasing around finances. I'm going to be chasing around jobs. I'm going to be chasing around family problems. I'm going to be chasing around relationships. I'm going to chase around friendships, all of these things, right? It's a never-ending cat chasing their own tail moment, or dog chasing their own tail moment, or the Ouroboros, the snake swallowing and devouring its own tail, right? So the whole idea is if we want to break through these cycles, we again work with the infinite to allow change to take place. So change only continues to happen until one understands their true nature. Once their true nature is understood, change is no longer necessary. They now start going with the flow. There is nothing that they feel is ambitious to them anymore. There is nothing that they feel needs to be completed. There's no more desires. There's no more passions. Everything is just balanced. Everything just feels complete equilibrium. And when we go into that state of equilibrium, then flow starts to lead our life. And now we're starting to move into a very deep flow, and the universe is just guiding us like a gentle caress on the wind, and we're becoming that feather. We become that feather in the wind, and we're just going to where the wind blows us. We no longer have that particular type of drive or that passion or that ambition. But Brad, isn't that a boring life, right? If you have absolutely no ambition, if you're absolutely, have nothing to look forward to, isn't that going to be really boring? No. Because you're now surrendering to the symbiosis of the universe. And it's going to take you to places that the ego could never take you before, that the aspect of passion could never take you before, because you have to look at the idea of passion, right? Passion's a brick wall. And even though that passion is very strong and that it's moving us into a very strong area of something that we appreciate, it's still a boundary, right? It's still a line that's drawn in the sand and says, this is as far as I can go with passion as it relates currently to this theme that I'm exploring. If I want to change, I need to let go of that old feeling of passion that maybe has died down, and I'm now moving myself into a new theme, into a new state of exploration. And now a new passion comes up, and then a new passion comes up, and a new passion comes up. And these are great because, again, you're complementing yourself, and you're bringing yourself into great love states. But it's like chewing gum that's lost its flavor. Right? That's what passion is. Passion will basically stick around for a certain amount of time only as a means to counterbalance everything that you have felt is inadequate. Right? So as long as you are adequate with everything that you're doing, you're no longer feeling that drive to do more because you feel complete within yourself. What causes us to drive to do more? Incompleteness. Right? The feeling of being incomplete. I need to do this because I need to prove to myself that this is who I am. I have to do this because this is something that I feel is so important to me. That's right. So do those important things. Do them all until you feel that passion completely loses its flavor, and now you're in the balancing point. Now you're at the scales, right? So now there is perfect balance between the negative and the positive, between the light and the dark. The shades of gray are now completely pristine. They are crystallized. And that's what we're doing and playing together with the infinite. And when we basically are just in that state of set scales, balanced scales, now we are moving into the absolute. We're moving into the truth. We simply become nothing that is aware of everything, right? That's the paradox. Because when you're coming back to truth, there's nothing that you don't know. There's nothing that you don't understand. But you're not involved with it because it doesn't involve you anymore. It's the idea that you have reached such a level of balanced adequacy, such a state of equanimity, and such a state of imperturbability that you're no longer concerned about how this world turns anymore. You're simply present with it. You're not concerned about the affairs of the galaxy or the affairs of the universe. Talking to extraterrestrials, talking to extra-dimensionals, talking to angelic beings in that sense. They're your peers now, right? It's no longer the idea that you're a student of them anymore. You're no longer an initiate. You're now part of them, right? You're part of your great ascended masters, your Jesus Christ, your Buddha, your Krishna, etc., right? All of these powerful, wonderful masters are now just your peers. You're working together with them. You're harmonizing with them. And they just look at the entire scope of the universe in a state of observation. And when one comes to them to question about certain things, they are happy to offer assistance, not because they have to, but because it's part of their nature, because they see that reflection as themselves, right? So I'm going pretty deep here, guys, and I know it might be some harsh things to take in here, or rather I'd say some challenging things to take in here. But this is really how the structure of ourselves is created, is that we have the circle. Okay? The circle represents the absolute. It is the aspect of complete and total truth. Within the circle, we have the infinite, right? The infinite, again, all possibilities that are governed by change, right? So change is what governs infinity. Changelessness, stillness, permanence is what governs the aspect of the absolute, right? So when you are looking at this as a model, as a circle with the infinity within, then the circle itself contains the finite. It is the finite of foreverness because there's no change involved. It's complete and total stillness. It's like putting yourself on pause and you're just floating in this eternal, in this forever bliss that never changes. And then you move into the infinity, and now that's the dynamic equation. That's where everything changes. That's where everything cycles together in that particular way. All right. So again, this is just giving us an overview about what we really are. We are the absolute, and we are playing within the infinite, right? So the infinity contained within the finite. It's like looking at a dewdrop on a leaf, right? The infinity within the finite. So we can go into that dewdrop and we can keep zooming in and we see all of these incredible dynamic functions within the dewdrop to make it what it is. But then we zoom out again and we see the absolute of that dewdrop, the microcosm of the macrocosm. So, moving on. Creator God of mind shall always exist within the infinite. The infinite is the extension of our expressions reflected eternally through the mirror universe. Truth, void, unchanging foreverness is the absolute. It holds no expression nor any form. It is the essence, the true spirit of the one. Together, the infinite cycles dynamically within the absolute for the one to understand itself through awareness. The recognition of one's existence and capability within that existence. So again, this is understanding the infinite and the absolute. This is understanding yourself on your greater aspect levels. This is understanding the higher self. This is understanding your God self as well too. So again, the God self is the eternal witness. It is sitting in the truth absolute, and it is looking within the aspect of the infinite to understand its own state of awareness, its own recognition of its own expressions, right? And that's all awareness is. It is the ability to recognize the expressions of yourself in all the ways it can express itself in totality, right? So when we are connecting with the higher self, this is how the higher self sees us. It's not involved in the internal dramas relating to our life. When we're looking at our God self, it's not involved with the internal dramas. We are involved with the internal dramas because our conscious self has given so much importance to them. It has made it important, and nothing within creation is going to contradict that, right? You make something important because you're the God of your own reality. You're the God of your own universe. If you deem something important, nothing is ever going to contradict that, right? So if you feel that family is the most important thing to you, no one's going to contradict that. You have given that state value. You have made that the most important thing in your life. If you feel that money is the most important thing to you, you'll make it so, right? You give value to everything because everything else within the reality or the universe is completely and totally meaningless, right? You're the one that gives meaning to everything, and you're the one that elicits change and allows that change to take shape into different forms, right? That's the power of you. Everything comes from you. Everything is created from you, and everything is indeed expressed through you. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to this episode today. We're going to go ahead and take any questions that anybody has on the chat here. Let me just go ahead and scroll down the chat. So if you guys do have any questions, you can feel free to post it here. I'm just going to scroll down here. Okay, so Nancy asks, Brad, that has been one of the hardest lessons for me, is letting go of what's next. Where am I going? Well, the whole idea is because that's how our mind is created, right? Or how we have aligned it to be created in that way. What's next? What's ahead for me? What's ahead for me? What about where you are right now? What about this present moment? Is there anything nagging at you right here, right now, that is not coming from your own thoughts, that is not peaceful? Well, I'm sitting in a living room. It's very, very quiet here. It's very silent. Then go into that silence. Go into that peacefulness. Get used to getting yourself anchored here and right now. Drop your anchor right into the now moment and say, this feels good. You know, it's my thoughts that nag me, but when I really just pay attention, I just observe my surroundings, everything's quite peaceful. Here's where I drop my anchor. Here's where I'm completely grounded. Here and now. Get used to this, right? Work with your body. Talk to your body. Communicate with your body. Go back to the first episode where I talked about power of the theta, right? And being able to get yourself into the theta state and start working together with the God mind. And now you just see this beautiful state of silence, this peaceful moment, right? You're sitting out in the field. You're sitting in your bedroom. You're sitting in your living room. And there's just everything's quiet and everything's peaceful. Tune into what your surroundings are sharing. And that's helping you to, again, drop your anchor, be here, be present, and now enjoy the present moment, right? Because I get like that, right? There's times, too, where I say, what's next, what's next? Okay, I've taken care of this. What's next to take care of? And then I get that reminder. Presence, right? Be present. Don't worry so much about what's next, because there is no next, because you experience next now, right? You can never experience next tomorrow. You can never experience it next week or next year. Your next is always now, right? So whenever we're looking at what's next, we're clinging on to the aspect of that aspect of tomorrow continuity, right? And that is not here. Everything that exists is here and now. So remember the power of the now. That is what's helping you to drop your anchor and being able to connect to that deeper understanding of silence. And the teachings that are the greatest forms of teachings are those which are silent, because that stills the mind. That brings you back into the truth absolute. All right. Moving down the question list here. Okay, so yeah, Nancy just responds, I have been setting in and being in the now moment. I decided if a hummingbird and I decided if a hummingbird and sit still for a while. I sat with her until she left, staying quiet, present in the peace. There you go, right? And again, a lot of the animals of our planet can be these teachers as well too, right? We just look at the animals because the animals really don't concern about anything, right? They're not concerned about their welfare. They're not concerned about their jobs, right? They're not complaining because the wind knocked down one of their homes or anything of that nature, right? There's no form of complaint. They're not putting up picket signs and saying, this isn't fair, or we want a union, all of this stuff, right? We learn a lot from them because they are completely in balance with nature. And we're the only species on this planet who isn't in balance with nature. Every other form of species is able to listen to the earth, it's able to connect with it, it's able to make peace with it, and it balances it together. We're the only race that's completely out of sync, that doesn't know how to work with this planet, right? And we do have the capability to work with this planet when we sit still, when we are present, when we listen to ourselves, when we listen to our bodies. And now it's telling us this particular path to be completely at peace with the earth, to be at peace with the planet. This isn't saying that you can't you need to give up your your beautiful things, your creations that you want to make. You certainly can. But again, let the creations that you make be the greatest compliment to yourself. Your joy is leading the way. So if you want to paint a picture, do it. If you want to help another person, great, do it, right? Let it be something that is so true to you, that is just, you're doing it because this is who you are. There should be no other reason for that. Okay? All right. Well, again, just a lot of great support and thanks on the chat room. Thank you guys for again inviting me into the Akashic Academy. It's been a really exciting trip so far. Again, doing the second episode here, so I appreciate that. Sending blessings to all of you guys as well too. Much love to you all. And again, we're going to have some more exciting episodes coming up on the Akashic Academy as well too. So stay tuned again every Friday And again, same time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to have some more Q&A as well, too, at the end of every episode. So thank you again for inviting me into your homes today, inviting me onto your screens with the expansion point. I look forward to speaking to you all again next week. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being here on the Akashic Academy. Take care. Namaste.